Welcome back to the AI 2041 audiobook series. In Chapter 1, The Golden Elephant, we travel to Mumbai, India, where a brilliant teenage girl develops an AI-powered chatbot that supports mental health. This story explores deep learning, big data, and the ethical boundaries of artificial intelligence in our emotional lives. Note from Qiufan. The opening story takes readers to Mumbai, where we meet a family who has signed up for a deep learning-enabled insurance program. This dynamic insurance program engages with the insured in the form of a series of apps intended to better their lives. The family's teenage daughter, however, finds that the AI program's persuasive nudges complicate her search for love. The Golden Elephant introduces the basics of AI and deep learning, offering a sense of its main strengths and weaknesses. In particular, the story illustrates how AI can single-mindedly try to optimize certain goals, but sometimes create detrimental externalities. The story also suggests the risks when one company possesses so much data from its users. In my commentary at the end of the chapter, I will explore these issues, offering a brief history of AI and why it excites many, but has become a source of distrust for others. On the screen, the three-story statue of Ganesh swayed in the surf of Qiufan Beach as though synced to the sitar soundtrack. With each wave, the towering idol descended lower until it was engulfed by the Arabian Sea. In the salty brine, the statue dissolved into gold and burgundy foam, washing onto Qiufan Beach, where the colors clung like blessings to the legions of believers who had gathered for the Visarjan immersion ritual, celebrating the end of the Ganesh Chaturthi festival. In her family's Mumbai apartment, Nayana watched as her grandparents clapped their hands and sang along to the TV. Her younger brother, Rohan, took a mouthful of cassava chips and a deep swig from his Diet Cola. Though he was only 8, Rohan was under doctor's orders to strictly control his fat and sugar intake. As he wagged his head in excitement, crumbs sprayed from his mouth and flew across the floor. In the kitchen, Papa Sanjay and Mama Ria banged on pots and crooned like they were in a Bollywood film. Nayana tried to shut them all out of her mind. The 10th grader was instead focusing all her energy on her smart stream, where she had downloaded Fate Leaf. The new app was all Nayana's classmates could seem to talk about lately. It was said to possess the answer to almost any question, thanks to the prescience of India's greatest fortune tellers. The app, its branding and ad campaign made clear, was inspired by the Hindu sage Agastya, who was said to have engraved the past, present, and future lives of all people in Sanskrit onto palm leaves, so-called nadi leaves, thousands of years ago. According to the legend, simply by providing one's thumbprints and birth date to a nadi leaf fortune teller, a person could have their life story foretold from the corresponding leaf. The problem was that many leaves had been lost to meddling colonialists, war, and time. In 2025, a tech company tracked down and scanned all the known nadi leaves still in circulation. The company used AI to perform deep learning, auto-translation, and analysis of the remaining leaves. The result was the creation of virtual nadi leaves stored in the cloud, one for each of the 8.7 billion people on Earth. Nayana was not dwelling on the ancient history of the nadi leaves. She had a more pressing matter on her mind. Users of the Fate Leaf app could seek to uncover the wisdom of their nadi leaf by posing various questions. While her family watched the Ganesh Visarjan celebration on TV, Nayana nervously typed out a question within the app. "Does Sahej like me?" Before she clicked send, a notification popped up indicating that an answer to her question would cost 200 rupees. Nayana clicked submit. Nayana had liked Sahej from the moment his stream first connected in their virtual classroom. Her new classmate didn't use any filter or AR background. Behind Sahej, hanging on the wall, Nayana could see rows of colorful masks, which, she learned, Sahej had carved and painted himself. On the first day of the new term, the teacher had asked Sahej about the masks. The new student shyly gave a show and tell, explaining how the masks combined Indian gods and spirits with the powers of superheroes. Note from Qiufan. The opening story takes readers to Mumbai, where we meet a family who has signed up for a deep learning-enabled insurance program. This dynamic insurance program engages with the insured in the form of a series of apps intended to better their lives. The family's teenage daughter, however, finds that the AI program's persuasive nudges complicate her search for love. The golden elephant introduces the basics of AI and deep learning, offering a sense of its main strengths and weaknesses. In particular, the story illustrates how AI can single-mindedly try to optimize certain goals, but sometimes create detrimental externalities. The story also suggests the risks when one company possesses so much data from its users. In my commentary at the end of the chapter, I will explore these issues, offering a brief history of AI and why it excites many, but has become a source of distrust for others. On the screen, the three-story statue of Ganesh swayed in the surf of Qiufan Beach as though synced to the sitar soundtrack. With each wave, the towering idol descended lower until it was engulfed by the Arabian Sea. In the salty brine, the statue dissolved into gold and burgundy foam, washing onto Qiufan Beach, where the colors clung like blessings to the legions of believers who had gathered for the Visarjan immersion ritual, celebrating the end of the Ganesh Chaturthi festival. In her family's Mumbai apartment, Nayana watched as her grandparents clapped their hands and sang along to the TV. Her younger brother, Rohan, took a mouthful of cassava chips and a deep swig from his Diet Cola. Though he was only 8, Rohan was under doctor's orders to strictly control his fat and sugar intake. As he wagged his head in excitement, crumbs sprayed from his mouth and flew across the floor. In the kitchen, Papa Sanjay and Mama Ria banged on pots and crooned like they were in a Bollywood film. Nayana tried to shut them all out of her mind. The 10th grader was instead focusing all her energy on her smart stream, where she had downloaded Fate Leaf. The new app was all Nayana's classmates could seem to talk about lately. It was said to possess the answer to almost any question, thanks to the prescience of India's greatest fortune tellers. The app, its branding and ad campaign made clear, was inspired by the Hindu sage Agastya, who was said to have engraved the past, present, and future lives of all people in Sanskrit onto palm leaves, so-called nadi leaves, thousands of years ago. According to the legend, simply by providing one's thumbprints and birth date to a nadi leaf fortune teller, a person could have their life story foretold from the corresponding leaf. The problem was that many leaves had been lost to meddling colonialists, war, and time. In 2025, a tech company tracked down and scanned all the known nadi leaves still in circulation. The company used AI to perform deep learning, auto-translation, and analysis of the remaining leaves. The result was the creation of virtual nadi leaves stored in the cloud, one for each of the 8.7 billion people on Earth. Nayana was not dwelling on the ancient history of the nadi leaves. She had a more pressing matter on her mind. Users of the Fate Leaf app could seek to uncover the wisdom of their nadi leaf by posing various questions. While her family watched the Ganesh Visarjan celebration on TV, Nayana nervously typed out a question within the app. "Does Sahej like me?" Before she clicked send, a notification popped up indicating that an answer to her question would cost 200 rupees. Nayana clicked submit. Nayana had liked Sahej from the moment his stream first connected in their virtual classroom. Her new classmate didn't use any filter or AR background. Behind Sahej, hanging on the wall, Nayana could see rows of colorful masks, which, she learned, Sahej had carved and painted himself. On the first day of the new term, the teacher had asked Sahej about the masks. The new student shyly gave a show and tell, explaining how the masks combined Indian gods and spirits with the powers of superheroes. "Take a look and tell us what's different," Ria said. Nayana felt like she was about to lose her mind. "What are you hiding from me?" "My sweet little girl, eat first." Grandmom began to pull apart the naan. "Wait, did Dad get promoted? Did we win the lottery? Did the government cut taxes?" Dad wobbled his head back and forth. "All beautiful ideas. But no, it's all for your mother." Nayana spun toward her mother. "Mom, what did you buy this time?" "Your tone should be more respectful when talking with your elders," Ria chided. "It wasn't me who got taken to the cleaners for buying cheap." Nayana's voice trailed off into a sigh. Nayana exhaled. "And what exactly is it you bought?" "Ganesh Insurance. They had an amazing sale for the holiday. First time ever that GI was 50% off. All the neighbors got it too, and they're even more thrifty than me." Dad clapped his hands in excitement. So did Nayana's grandparents. "Wait, hasn't our family always had a policy from the Life Insurance Corporation of India?" "That policy wasn't nearly enough. Your grandparents are old and rely on us. What if something were to happen to us? Where will the money come from? We have to save where we can, and you and your younger brother are both in private school, and don't you still want to go to SOFT at Rai University? Tuition and dormitories cost a lot more than public universities in Mumbai. Why does the conversation always have to twist back to blaming me? To plan for the future, you must also think about what's in front of you, grandfather observed. So, what's the deal with this insurance exactly? Well, Mrs. Shah from next door filled me in, explained Ria. It's a platform that uses AI to adjust the insurance plan according to the family's needs, and for a very good price. And it's not just the one platform, more like a little family of apps. There's one for calculating and paying insurance fees, and one for investments, and my favorite one is the home goods shop. Another one shows you deals in your area. And just look at my hair. The salon the Qiufan Deals app recommended only cost 400 rupees. Just as Rohan was about to steal a sweet, Nayana slapped the back of his hand, which he withdrew with a sheepish look. You sound like an advertisement, Nayana told her mother. Why would an insurance company tell you where to get your hair done? And how exactly does this AI insurance know so much about our family? Mom searched for a way out of the question. To get the benefits of Ganesh Insurance, we share data link access for each member of the family. What? Nayana's eyes grew as wide as brass bells. It's all kept strictly confidential, unless we give permission for GI to use it. What right do you have to share my data link with some insurance company? Hey, don't talk to your mother like that. Dad wagged his finger at Nayana. Don't forget you're still a minor. As your parents, we have the right to make data decisions for you. Nayana's face turned bright red. She was unaccustomed to such a sharp rebuke from her father. She threw her knife and fork down onto the plate and raced back to her room. She grabbed her quilt and pulled it over her head, imagining that somewhere on her naughty leaf, it was written that today was the worst day of her life. Nayana and her mother's Cold War lasted a week, until Nayana's smart stream began pushing some unusual new notifications. It's going to rain today, so take an umbrella. Respiratory illnesses are becoming more prevalent, so you should wear a mask. There's a traffic accident on your route, so to avoid the congestion. At first, Nayana was skeptical about the endless stream of notifications, but she found she couldn't stop reading them. From time to time, she actually got a useful tip, a clothing deal, a discount at a lunch place she liked. Of course, to actually redeem the deals, Nayana had to install the Qiufan Deals app and other various Golden Elephant branded Ganesh Insurance apps on her smart stream and permit them to access her data. It seemed Mom had already forced the Golden Elephant onto all the family's smart streams. Women controlled data sharing in more than 60% of Indian households. All that personal data was linked to the national ID Aadhaar card and the unique identifying number issued to all of India's 1.4 billion residents by the Unique Identification Authority of India. Since implementing the system in 2009, after 20 years of development, the government had collected data, including citizens' fingerprints, retina signatures, genetic histories, family information, occupations, credit scores, home buying history, and tax records. With its clients' consent, Ganesh Insurance was able to tap into this rich trove of data to personalize its services. Of course, there were some privacy restrictions. For example, social media data needed to be separately authorized, and use of minors' data required consent of their legal guardians. Nayana aimed to be vigilant in every interaction with GI. In her data literacy class in high school, she had learned that on the internet, every click might sell you out. She carefully studied the fine print before choosing between "I accept" or "I need more time to consider." Yet it seemed every time she selected "I need more time to consider," GI would send appealing new discounts and suggestions for how to solve her immediate problems. For example, how exactly could she attract Sahaj's attention? Sahaj was really cute, especially his sheep-like eyes. He instinctively wanted to please every classmate. He had even sent each classmate a wood carving he had made of a small animal head. But the virtual classroom had its limits. Sometimes all Nayana could see was just a blurry headshot icon and a glitchy voice due to Sahaj's poor connection. After finally meeting Sahaj during one of the school's in-person days, Nayana found it even more difficult to contain her feelings for him. She sought any excuse to talk with him, but for some reason, the boy kept his distance. Does Sahaj not like me? Or is it another reason? Could Sahej's background, Nayana wondered, account for his shyness around her? As the question lingered in Nayana's mind, little golden elephants popped up in a notification from Magicome, GI's lifestyle advice app, about how to make yourself more attractive to guys. Nayana guessed that the AI was able to use her online browsing and shopping data to infer what she was thinking, but these recommendations disturbed Nayana for another reason. Why should women need to change themselves to win a man's favor? Why couldn't women show men who they really were and see if they were or weren't a match? Though she was still feeling annoyed at her mother, Nayana decided to ask her about the golden elephant's odd messages. Silly girl, machines only learn what is taught to them by human beings. Rhea looked at her newly bought long skirt in the mirror and turned. But what's this all about? Have you met someone? Not at all, Nayana replied with a tinge of guilt. You can hide it from me, but not from the AI, her mother joked. Are you sure you don't want me to help you scheme? You know, your mother knows a thing or two about men. I just don't know how I can find out what he really thinks of me. I give him likes online, but he never seems to respond. Ah, so there is someone. It's not enough to give someone a like online. You've got to have guts. And that reminds me, if you permit GI to access your ShareChat account data, its recommendations will be better. Not to mention, the premium for our family will also dip just a bit more. Nayana shook her head and left the room. She recalled that only a few weeks earlier, her mother had rejected Nayana's request to share her data link with a different app, Fateleaf, to obtain more accurate fortune-telling. Now, their positions were reversed. Of course, now money was on the line. It wasn't just her mother. To Nayana, everyone in the family had been brainwashed by that little golden elephant. They had become hyper-aware that any change in behavior might raise or lower their premiums. Once something was linked with money, it seemed to Nayana that the human brain went on autopilot. They'd do whatever it took to score an award and evade a penalty. It wasn't that GI didn't have its plus side. The little golden elephant would remind Nayana's grandparents to take their medicine and nudge them to schedule doctor appointments. Even Nayana's father, who had never listened to anyone, gave up smoking when the little golden elephant kept chiding him. He swapped his favorite arak for a healthier single nightly glass of red wine. His driving style even became more restrained. At the app's urging, he no longer zigzagged through Mumbai's congested streets like an out-of-work race car driver. GI had given him an incentive. By changing his behavior, he was able to lower his auto, health, and life insurance premiums. If anyone in the family could resist the GI app's nudges, Nayana suspected it would be her brother, Rohan. After all, fat and sugar were as addictive as heroin, especially for children with no self-control. But that golden elephant made it happen. Even if the 8-year-old didn't understand insurance premiums or delayed gratification, the rest of the family were conditioned to see any sweet near the boy as a threat to their bank account. Their former indulgence of Rohan's sweet tooth was over. It naturally made sense. Insurance companies wanted people to live healthier, longer lives. It made for better profits. As for herself, Nayana was still on the fence. Should she hand over the data link of her ShareChat? Equally puzzling was the question of Sahej. When Sahej had given everyone in the class a handmade wood carving, he chose a crow's head covered in patterns to give to Nayana. The 10th grader practically tore her hair out thinking about what hidden meaning the gift might hold. Doesn't the crow symbolize bad luck? Is he telling me to not be so loud and annoying? Am I coming on too strong? What's he saying exactly? Nayana tortured herself with such questions. Her first thought was to turn to Fateleaf for a divination, but her mother had forbidden her to permit that app to access her data. What about Magicome? Nayana wondered. Lovesick, she decided she would see what the elephant's omnipotent algorithm had to say about her future. The future the little golden elephant imagined, however, wasn't anything like the one she'd hoped for. Everything felt immediately wrong. Granting GI access to her data on ShareChat, Nayana knew from her data literacy class, was like opening the door to your bedroom. Your whole private life might be visible at a glance. Although GI guaranteed that all data was fed anonymously to its AI for purposes of federated learning, and that no third party could access it, Nayana thought that sounded a bit like a farmer telling the turkey a week before Thanksgiving, "Hey, you're safe here." Whenever she was browsing, chatting, liking, or even selecting emojis on ShareChat, all Nayana could think about now was how her choices would affect the family's insurance premiums. She found the whole system infuriating and ridiculous. But perhaps, she wondered, it's even more ridiculous to expect this AI to act as my matchmaker. Sahej posted almost nothing on ShareChat. He was like a person from some bygone era who had failed to keep up with technology. He occasionally posted a news article, quotes he liked, or outdated memes. But his usage was sporadic and unpredictable. His account, Nayana thought, looked like a fake zombie account. The AI was supposed to help Nayana get together with Sahej, but how could it learn anything important about Sahej from his boring account? Meanwhile, it was all too easy for AI to understand Nayana's intentions, given her incessant clicking. To the AI, such things were a matter of math, not love. To Nayana, something fishy was going on with GI when it came to Sahej. She found it odd that every time she refreshed Sahej's page or liked one of his posts, GI would send her a weird notification, as if trying to break her focus. If she tried to come up with a reason to talk with him, browsed online for a gift for him, or even just thought about inviting him out to coffee, that little golden elephant would pop up with some totally ridiculous recommendation, or seemingly load a page in error. The only possible explanation Nayana could think of was that the little golden elephant didn't want her to get close with Sahej at all. It was actively working against her. Was the elephant like this with everyone? Is it because I'm too young? But isn't coupling up and marriage a good thing? Aren't we told that as a country of 1.4 billion, our reproductive capacity will make us invincible on the world stage? What's the problem? As her thoughts spiraled, Nayana noticed her mother watching her from the doorway. "What in the hell have you been up to, young lady? Our premium is going through the roof." "Me?" Nayana didn't know what to say. It was clear to her the little golden elephant was determined to turn her whole virtual world upside down. "Tell me now, or I'm taking your smart stream away." "No, you can't." "Sorry, but yes, that's exactly what I'm going to." Before Ria could finish, Nayana shot up, rushed past her mother, and raced out of the house as fast as her legs would carry her. Clenching her smart stream, Nayana ran until she no longer recognized where she was. Finally, she saw the familiar relief sculptures of the new India Assurance Building in the Fort District. Sunset lit the weathered facade's artfully sculpted farmers, potters, spinners, and porters as Nayana decided it was the perfect moment to give Sahej a call, no matter how much it raised her family's premium. The boy's avatar image popped onto her smart stream as the screen flickered with GI notices. Nayana could see that her family's premium had already increased by 0.73 rupees. It was a long time before he answered, and Nayana was about to give up when the phone finally connected with a video stream so dark she could barely make out the contours of a face and white-toothed grin. "That you, Sahej?" Nayana asked timidly. "It's me. Nayana?" "I was afraid you weren't going to answer." It's a bit complicated. I can't speak long, but I really do want to talk with you." "Me too." Nayana's heart jumped. "I'm going to give you the address of a restaurant. Can we meet there?" Sahej glanced about in silence for a moment before finally whispering, "Okay." After hanging up, Nayana couldn't help but cheer. Then someone called her name. She spun to see her mother shining gold and red against the setting sun, as though the goddess Saraswati had come down to earth. "How did you find me?" "I'm the data manager of our house, and don't you forget it." Her mother glared at her. "I'm sorry." Nayana didn't dare look into her mother's eyes. "But remember I told you about that guy? I'm going to meet up with him, but GI won't allow it, so..." "You think that's why the premium's going up? GI wants to keep us living healthier and longer, and prevent us from doing stupid things that will harm us, not... Unless this is some kind of dangerous person?" Nayana shook her head. "No, he's just my new classmate, Sahej. He's smart, a real talent. And this is the present he made for me. He carved it himself." Her mother inspected the wooden crow head Nayana handed her. "He doesn't sound like such a dangerous person. Is he handsome?" Nayana let slip a shy smile, but it quickly turned into a grimace. "This sucks. What does GI know that I don't? Maybe I'll live longer if I never meet up with him." "Sweetie, let me tell you something." Nayana's mother draped an arm over her daughter's shoulder. "I know we don't always see eye to eye, but I'm not as blind as you may think. You know, talking to you makes me think about something I read recently. Actually, it was an old ebook suggested by the Magicome, come to think of it." "What was it?" Nayana became curious. It was a book from 2021, and there was a story in there about a mom who is so superficial and proud and obsessed with her image that she ignores her daughter's growing distress. And the family was Indian just like us. It hit me hard. When I was your age, my parents wanted me to marry as soon as possible. I wanted to go to school to become a lawyer, but they didn't want me entertaining suitors or making my own decisions. I wasn't brave enough to stand up for myself. I gave in, and I regret it to this day. And that's why I would never be mad at you for wanting to follow your heart, whether it's about a boy or who you want to become in the world. Nayana's mother kept her hand on her daughter's shoulder. Nayana noticed the sun glinting in her mother's eyes. I have always worked to give you the sense of security and comfort I never had, so you won't ever have to rely on who you marry to bring you happiness. Go to SOFT at Ray University and become whoever you are supposed to be. Don't let anyone tell you who you are. No one, human or AI. If they try, don't you dare listen. There is no easy answer, and you'll never find it unless you try. So you don't mind if I leave Mumbai for Ahmedabad? Well, if you study and pass the exam. Her mother smiled. Don't forget the competition is fierce. You won't mind then if our family's premium keeps going up because of me? Some risks are worth taking. Thank you, Mom. I'm going to see Sahej now. I'll bring the answer back for you. A red double-decker smart bus turned the corner. Nayana kissed her mother and skipped toward the station as the sun dipped below the horizon. Through the window, waiters were busily setting tables and lighting candles, waiting for customers to enter Indigo on this romantic night. Sahej was on the corner. His skin looked even darker in the night. Nayana could tell he didn't want to enter the restaurant. I'm sorry. He shook his head. His eyes glowed like fireflies. Why? If I go into that restaurant with you, my mother will not be happy. Going to such a restaurant is an indulgence. It would increase our premium. You mean? Nayana put it together. Your family's on Ganesh too? Yeah, my mom is sick. We're lucky GI offers a special insurance premium for vulnerable groups. Otherwise, we would never be able to afford. I understand, Nayana said. But what I don't understand is why you would give me a crow instead of a peacock, a rabbit, or any other animal. Sahej flashed a slight smile. You're a girl with a lot of questions. Maybe we shouldn't stand at the door of this dumb fancy restaurant staring at each other like two idiots. Let's walk around a bit. The Mumbai streets were full of traffic this time of night, and car horns beeped one after another across the vast city of 30 million people. It wasn't always a city of tall buildings, bright lights, and digital displays, but it had been crowded with people for a long time. This place, its history, could be traced all the way back to the Stone Age. When the ancient Greeks arrived here, they'd named the city Heptanesia, meaning 7 islands. Mumbai had since seen the rise and fall of many dynasties and rulers. It had been baptized in blood and reborn countless times before the country was granted its independence. Such thoughts of history were far from the minds of the 2 high schoolers strolling the city's brightly lit streets. Nayana noticed Sahej was careful to keep his distance from her, as though she carried a dangerous electric current. Sahej, why? Why can't we get close to each other? Nayana chose her words carefully. Now it was Sahej's turn to look surprised. Nayana, do you really not know? Know what? My last name. The schools and virtual classroom keep your surname protected, just like you're the offspring of a big star or some famous family. On the contrary, it's because they don't want it to trigger any discomfort. What kind of discomfort? In the past, it was described as a feeling of being polluted. You're talking about your caste? But that whole system was outlawed years ago. Sahej gave a bitter laugh. Just because it's no longer permitted by law and doesn't appear in the news doesn't mean it's gone. But how would the AI know about it? The AI doesn't know. The AI doesn't need to know the definition of the castes. All it needs is its user's history. No matter how we hide, or if we change our surnames, our data is a shadow, and no one can escape their shadow. Nayana thought about what her mother had said, that AI only learns what humans teach it. She rolled the thought about in her head, then looked at Sahej. So you're saying that AI identifies the invisible discrimination in our society and quantifies it. Sahej's expression became serious, but he exhaled a soft laugh. I almost forgot. There's also the color of my skin. The Sanskrit word varna once meant both caste and color. It's also absurd. No, it's reality. And in reality, women of low caste can date and marry men of higher caste. But the other way around will never be accepted. The reputation of the girl's family would be damaged. But does the AI really care about those things? Sure, AI doesn't care about our old social mores. It only cares about how to reduce the premium as much as possible. And that's why GI wants to stop us from being together. When she heard Sahej say, together, Nayana's ears felt hot. Objective function maximization. What? Humans give the AI its objective, which here is to decrease insurance premiums to the lowest cost possible. Then the AI does everything possible to achieve that goal. The AI won't consider anything at all beyond those factors, certainly not whether or not we're happy. Machines aren't smart enough to interpret all the feelings going on behind the data. Plus, these injustices and biases are still real. All AI does is lift that veil of shame. Why do you know so much about it? Sahej gave a little smile. Because I want to go to Imperial College to become an AI engineer, so I can help change it. They reached the crossroads near Nayana's home, and Sahej paused to prepare his goodbye. But why can't we change it now? Nayana said. Are we so ready to let AI arrange our fate? Like those predictions on Fate Leaf that were written thousands of years ago? A strange expression emerged on Sahej's face. Have you opened Fate Leaf since connecting to GI? Ugh, I'm so sick of that little golden elephant. What does it have to do with Fate Leaf? Fate Leaf is in the GI family of apps, just like Magicome and Qiufan. If you accept the data sharing terms, you'll get more accurate fortunes. Of course! How did I not figure this out before? So the so-called fates of the naughty leaves aren't real after all. I guess, like everyone else, I wanted it to be real. And for it to tell me what I wanted to hear. Nayana didn't know whether to rejoice or feel cheated. Sahej looked at the girl before him. He paused, then pointed at the street he was going to take home. This road leads to where my family lives. It passes through the Dharavi construction site. There used to be more than 1 million people crowded into that 2.4 square kilometer slum. Tourists visited to take photos, but not one ever wanted to stay. The government's finally transforming it into a community suitable for ordinary citizens. But I promise you, if you ever get close to Dharavi, your GI will flood with illness alerts, or warnings not to drink the water. The app will implore you to stay away. Nayana, I appreciate your sense of justice, but that path just isn't for people like you. The world is on your side, not that side. If we're going to talk about fate, that's what our fate is. Take me there. Nayana was startled by how quickly the words left her mouth, but she stepped forward nonetheless. I want to prove I'm not that person you're thinking of. Sahej tilted his head. You sure? Nayana glanced at the road stretching into a forbidden hollow at the heart of Mumbai. She was afraid, but she remembered what her mother had told her before saying goodbye. Some risks are worth taking. Sahej smiled, bent his arms, and gestured her forward in a gentleman's bow. As you please. The young couple made their way deeper into the ancient city, where centuries of renovation and innovation had branded every corner. Towers old and new lined their path like reincarnated souls. Of course, these souls, too, would eventually be broken up and reconstituted by tomorrow's machine gods. So, will you now finally tell me why on earth you made me a crow's head? My astrological animal is the crow, though perhaps I'm more socially awkward than most crows. It's that simple? It's that simple. Nayana's smart stream vibrated with increasing frequency. She knew every vibration was an alert from that little golden elephant trying to save her, warning her to walk away from what was once the world's largest slum, incentivizing her to turn her back on its poverty, disease, discrimination, and untouchables, like the boy next to her. She pulled her collar tight and continued forward at his side. In the dark, ancient streets ahead, an answer was waiting. Analysis. Deep learning, big data, internet finance applications, AI externalities. The benefits of Ganesh Insurance, powered by deep learning AI, are clear in The Golden Elephant. Nayana's mom, Ria, saves money thanks to the program's Deals app. Her father, Sanjay, quits smoking and drives more safely. Even her brother is eating healthier after AI raises an alarm about the potential for him to develop diabetes. such a suite of apps running on the SmartStream mobile phone of 2041, marked by personalized nudges toward better health and well-being, could help people live longer, healthier, and wealthier lives. So, is there a catch? That question about trade-offs lies at the heart of the golden elephant, which introduces the foundational AI concept of deep learning. Deep learning is a recent AI breakthrough. Among the many subfields of AI, machine learning is the field that has produced the most successful applications. And within machine learning, the biggest advance is deep learning. So much so that the terms AI, machine learning, and deep learning are sometimes used interchangeably, if imprecisely. Deep learning supercharged excitement in AI in 2016 when it powered AlphaGo's stunning victory over a human competitor in Go, Asia's most popular intellectual board game. After that headline-grabbing turn, deep learning became a prominent part of most commercial AI applications, and it is featured in most of the stories in AI 2041. The Golden Elephant explores deep learning's stunning potential, as well as its potential pitfalls, like perpetuating bias. So, how do researchers develop, train, and use deep learning? What are its limitations? How is deep learning fueled by data? Why are internet and finance the two most promising initial industries for AI? In what conditions does deep learning optimally work? When it does work, why does it seem to work so well? And what are the downsides and pitfalls of AI? What is deep learning? Inspired by the tangled webs of neurons in our brains, deep learning constructs software layers of artificial neural networks with input and output layers. Data is fed into the input layer of the network, and a result emerges from the output layer of the network. In between the input and output layers may be up to thousands of other layers, hence the name deep learning. Many people assume AI is programmed or taught by humans with specific rules and actions, like cats have pointy ears and whiskers. But deep learning actually works better without these external human rules. Instead of being nudged by humans, many examples of a given phenomenon are fed into the input layer of a deep learning system, along with the correct answer at the output layer. In this way, the network in between the input and output can be trained to maximize the chance of getting the correct answer to a given input. For example, imagine that researchers want to teach a deep learning network how to distinguish between photos depicting cats and those that do not depict cats. To start, a researcher might feed the network millions of sample photos labeled cat or no cat into the input layer, with cat or no cat already set at the output layer. The network is trained to figure out for itself what features in the millions of images were most helpful to separate cat from no cat. This training is a mathematical process that adjusts the millions, sometimes even billions, of parameters in the deep learning network in order to maximize the chance that a cat image input results in a cat output, and that a non-cat image input results in a no-cat output. The figure on this page shows such a cat recognition deep learning neural network. During this process, deep learning is mathematically trained to maximize the value of an objective function. In the case of cat recognition, the objective function is the probability of correct recognitions of cat versus no cat. Once trained, this deep learning network is essentially a giant mathematical equation that can be tested on images it hasn't seen, and it will perform inference to determine the presence or absence of cats. The advent of deep learning pushed AI capabilities from unusable to usable for many domains. The figure on this page shows the dramatic reduction of image recognition errors before and after deep learning was applied. Deep learning is an omni-use technology, meaning it could be applied to almost any domain for recognition, prediction, classification, decision-making, or synthesis. Take insurance, the prime example in The Golden Elephant. The deep learning powering Ganesh Insurance's apps has been trained to determine the likelihood that each insured may develop serious health problems, and then set premiums accordingly. To train a network to separate those who likely face serious health claims from those who do not, AI would learn from training data comprising all past insurance applicants and their medical claims and family information. Each case would be labeled with filed serious health claim or did not file serious health claim in the output layer. Having absorbed this trove of data in the training process, The AI could infer the likelihood any new application would lead to a serious health claim and decide whether to approve the insurance application or not, and if so, how much the premium should be. Note that in this scenario, no human would ever need to label an applicant as a health risk or not. Instead, the labels are based solely on ground truth. For example, whether each insurer had filed a serious health claim. Deep learning. Amazing capabilities, but with limitations. The first academic paper describing deep learning dates all the way back to 1967. It took almost 50 years for this technology to blossom. The reason it took so long is that deep learning requires large amounts of data and computing power for training the artificial neural network. If computing power is the engine of AI, data is the fuel. Only in the last decade has computing become fast enough and data sufficiently plentiful. Today, your smartphone holds millions of times more processing power than the NASA computers that sent Neil Armstrong to the moon in 1969. Similarly, the Internet of 2009 is almost 1 trillion times larger than the Internet of 1995. While deep learning was inspired by the human brain, the two work very differently. Deep learning requires much more data than humans, but once trained on big data, it will outperform humans by far for a given task, especially in dealing with quantitative optimization, like picking an ad to maximize likelihood of purchase, or recognizing a face out of a million possible faces. While humans are limited in the number of things they can pay attention to at once, a deep learning algorithm trained on an ocean of information will discover correlations between obscure features of the data that are too subtle or complex for we humans to comprehend, and which may not even be noticed. Furthermore, when trained on a huge amount of data, deep learning can customize for individual users based on that user's patterns, as well as similar patterns observed on other users. For example, when you visit Amazon, the website's AI highlights specific products intended to entice you and maximize your spending. And when you open a Facebook page, Facebook shows you content designed to maximize the number of minutes you will stay on Facebook. Amazon and Facebook's AI are targeted, meaning that they show different personalized content to each person. So the content shown to me works great on me, but may not work at all on you. This targeted accuracy is much more effective at producing clicks and purchases than the one-size-fits-all approach used by traditional static websites. As powerful as it is, deep learning is not a panacea. While humans lack AI's ability to analyze huge numbers of data points at the same time, people have a unique ability to draw on experience, abstract concepts, and common sense to make decisions. By contrast, in order for deep learning to function well, the following are required: massive amounts of relevant data, a narrow domain, and a concrete objective function to optimize. If you're short on any one of these, things may fall apart. Too little data? The algorithm won't have enough examples to uncover meaningful correlations. Multiple domains? The algorithm cannot account for cross-domain correlations and will not get enough data to cover all permutations. Too broad an objective function? The algorithm will lack clear guidance to sharpen its optimization. Applying deep learning to internet and finance. Given the strengths and weaknesses of deep learning, it is no wonder that the first beneficiaries of this form of artificial intelligence are the biggest internet companies. Tech behemoths like Facebook and Amazon have the most data, which are often automatically labeled via user action. Did the user click or buy? How many minutes did the user stay on a page? These user actions are directly related to a business metric, either revenue or clicks, to maximize. When these conditions are met, an app or platform can become a money printing machine. As the platform collects more data, it makes more money. It is no wonder that giant internet companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook have experienced phenomenal growth in the past decade and become powerhouse AI companies. Beyond internet companies, the next industry that is low-hanging fruit for AI is finance, including banks and insurance companies, as the golden elephant shows. Consider the example of insurance. The industry has similar benefits to internet companies. A large amount of high-quality data within a single domain, insurance, connected to business metrics. The emergence of AI-based fintech, financial technology companies, such as Lemonade in the United States and Waterdrop in China, are making it possible to buy insurance in an app or take a loan in an app with instant approval. These AI-based fintech companies are poised to overtake brick-and-mortar financial corporations because they deliver better financial results, lower default or fraud rate, instantaneous transactions using AI in the app, and lower costs, no humans in the loop. Traditional financial companies are also hurrying to implement AI in their existing products and processes. The race is on. Another interesting benefit of AI fintech is that it can use data beyond those considered by human professionals. It can improve predictive power by tapping into massive heterogeneous data that would not be feasible for a human insurance underwriter to assess. For example, whether you buy more processed foods or vegetables, whether you spend a lot of time in a casino or in a gym, whether you invest in Reddit group recommendations or hedge funds, whether you have a girlfriend or harass women online. All of this evidence would say a lot about you, including your relative risk as an insured person. Millions of pieces of information, or features, can be found on your mobile phone apps. That's why in The Golden Elephant, the Ganesh Insurance services come in the form of a family of Golden Elephant social applications, encompassing everything from e-commerce to recommendations and coupons, investment, ShareChat, a popular Indian local language social network, and the fictitious Fately fortune-telling app. Every time Nayana buys something, accepts a recommendation, asks about a fortune, or makes a friend, Ganesh Insurance gets another piece of information, data it uses to train itself to be more intelligent and optimized. This is similar to how Google knows so much about you from the aggregation of the breadcrumbs you leave in Google search, Google Play, Google Maps, Gmail, and YouTube. Out of potentially millions of features, some may be extremely relevant and useful, while most may only have modest predictive power. But even among the modestly useful features, deep learning will find helpful, subtle combinations that are informative but that humans cannot possibly fathom. Deep learning downsides. Every powerful technology is a double-edged sword. Electricity powers all of our conveniences, but is lethal when touched directly. The internet makes everything convenient, but also shortens our attention span. So what are the downsides of deep learning? First is the risk when AI knows you better than you know yourself. The benefits are clear. AI can recommend products you'll want before you would otherwise notice them, and AI can recommend compatible matches in romantic partners and friends based on your known affinities. However, knowing you too well has downsides. Have you ever sat down to watch one video on YouTube and ended up spending 3 hours? Or clicked on one provocative link on Facebook, only to see more extreme content recommended next? The popular 2020 documentary, The Social Dilemma, illustrates how AI's personalization will cause you to be unconsciously manipulated by AI and motivated by profit from advertising. The Social Dilemma star Tristan Harris says, "You didn't know that your click caused a supercomputer to be pointed at your brain. Your click activated billions of dollars of computing power that has learned much from its experience of tricking 2 billion human animals to click again. And this addiction results in a vicious cycle for you, but a virtuous cycle for the big internet companies that use this mechanism as a money printing machine." The Social Dilemma further argues that this may narrow your viewpoints, polarize society, distort truth, and negatively affect your happiness, mood, and mental health. To put it in technical terms, the core of the issue is the simplicity of the objective function, and the danger from single-mindedly optimizing a single objective function, which can lead to harmful externalities. Today's AI usually optimizes this singular goal, most commonly to make money, more clicks, ads, revenues. And AI has a maniacal focus on that one corporate goal, without regard for users' well-being. Ganesh Insurance in The Golden Elephant promises to minimize insurance premiums, which is highly correlated to minimizing health claims, and thus improving health. On the surface, this seems to suggest a harmonious alignment of corporate and user goals. However, in the story, the insurance company's AI determines that a relationship between Nayana and her crush, Sahej, would likely increase Nayana's family's insurance premium in the future, so it tries to deter the young couple's budding romance. In other words, the Ganesh Insurance AI was trained on massive amounts of data to find causalities. AI can find elevated disease risks of smoking, and thus try to reduce smoking, which is good. But AI might also find that a potential romantic pairing, even one that could help bridge societal division in the long term, could, according to its narrow analysis of the data, increase insurance premiums. So inference results in actions that serve to tear people apart and exacerbate inequality. How can we solve this problem? One general approach is to teach AI to have complex objective functions, such as lowering insurance premiums while maintaining fairness. When it comes to maximizing the time humans spend on social networks, for example, Tristan Harris has proposed using time well spent as a metric instead of simple time spent. These two goals could be blended into a complex objective function. Another solution proposed by AI expert Stuart Russell is to ensure that every objective function always be beneficial to humans by finding a way for humans to be in the loop in the design of objective functions. For example, can we build objective functions for greater human good, such as our happiness? And can we involve humans to define and label what happiness means? We explore this idea further in Chapter 9, Isle of Happiness. All of these ideas require more AI research on complex objective functions, and also ways to quantify notions like time well spent, fairness, or happiness. Furthermore, each of these ideas would cause companies to make less money. So how can companies be incentivized to do the right thing? One possibility is to have government regulations that penalize offenders. Another is to encourage positive behavior as a part of corporate social responsibility, such as ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance. ESG is gaining traction in some business circles, and it is possible that responsible AI could be a part of the future ESG. Another idea is for third parties that can serve as watchdogs by creating dashboards for companies' performance, tracking metrics like rates of fake news generated or lawsuits filed alleging discrimination, to pressure them to incorporate pro-user metrics. Finally, perhaps the hardest but the most effective solution is to ensure that the AI owner is 100% interest aligned with each user. See Chapter 9 for more on this utopian solution. A second potential downside is fairness and bias. AI bases its decisions purely on data and outcome optimization, which may often be more equitable than decisions made by people who can be unduly influenced by various prejudices. But there are reasons that AI, too, may be biased. For example, the data used to train the AI may be insufficient and inadequately represent race or gender demographics. One company's recruiting department may find that its AI algorithms are biased against women because the training data didn't include enough women. Or the data may be biased because it was collected from a biased society. Microsoft's Tay and OpenAI's GPT-3 were both known to make inappropriate remarks about minority groups. Recently, research has shown that AI is able to infer sexual orientation with high accuracy based on facial microexpressions. Such abilities could lead to discrimination. This is similar to what happened to Sahej in The Golden Elephant, when his delete status was found not directly, but by inference. In other words, Sahej was not labeled delete, but because his data and features correlated to being a delete, warning signals were sent to Nayana, as the AI system tried to keep the two apart. These unfair outcomes are not intentional, yet the consequences are extremely serious. If a society applied them to domains like hospital admissions or criminal justice proceedings, the stakes would be even higher. Fairness and bias issues with AI will require substantial efforts to address them. Some steps are clear. First, companies using AI should disclose where AI systems are used and for what purpose. Second, AI engineers should be trained with a set of standard principles, like an adapted physician's Hippocratic Oath. Engineers need to understand that their profession embeds ethical choices into products that make life-changing decisions, and thus promise to protect users' rights. Third, rigorous testing should be required and embedded in AI training tools to provide warnings or disallow use of models trained on data with unfair demographic coverage. Fourth, new laws requiring AI audits could be passed. If a company receives enough complaints, it could be AI audited for fairness, disclosure, and privacy protection, the same way it might face a tax audit if its books look fishy. A final issue is that of explanation and justification. People can always give a reason for why they made a decision, because human decisions are based on highly selective experience and rules. But deep learning's decisions are based on complex equations with thousands of features and millions of parameters. Deep learning's reason is basically a 1,000-dimensional equation trained from large quantities of data. This reason for producing a given output is too complex to explain fully to a human. Yet many key AI decisions are required, by law or by user expectation, to be accompanied by an explanation. A great deal of research is currently underway that attempts to make AI more transparent, either by summarizing its complex logic or by introducing new AI algorithms that are fundamentally more interpretable. These downsides of deep learning have caused significant public distrust of AI. But all new technologies have had downsides. History suggests that, with time, many of the early errors of a new technology will be fixed and improved upon. Think about the advent of the circuit breaker to avoid electrocution and antivirus software to stave off computer viruses. I am confident there will be technology and policy solutions to address the challenges of AI's influence, bias, and opaque operations. But first, we must follow Nayana and Sahej's footsteps to inform people about the gravity of problems and then to mobilize them to work toward a solution. The line between comfort and control is thinner than we think. What would you do if your emotions were shaped by an algorithm? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. Chapter 2 is coming soon, and it's all about deepfakes and digital identity.